What faces, Sam?
We've not even started yet, Bruce. Stop giving me grief. Right. It is Friday night. It's like the Saturday Night Live thing. It's Friday night. We're on UK Crime Book Club, and we have the utterly gorgeous human that is Ben Bruce.
Hello.
Very talented author. Just read Dead Men Don't Pay. Show us the book cover and tell us something about the book, and then I'll grill you for an hour.
Dead Men Don't Pay. There we go. Dead Men Don't
Look
Pay.
at that cover.
You read the whole thing already? You weren't messing about. Fair play.
I was not messing about. Of course I read it before the interview. We're not amateurs here. We read the books.
You've just made me, right? I sit there and say to all the authors who come on the podcast that I do every fortnight, I don't have time to read all the books. I'm really sorry. I'll try and read as many as I can. And you're like, I'm not an amateur. I read all the books.
Well, I didn't know you were going to say that, did I? So...
Absolutely bodied me within the first 30 seconds of this interview, Sam. What's going on?
Yeah, sorry, mate. Go on, start again. Show us the book cover. Tell us about the latest book. Book 4.
The latest book. Yeah, we're talking about a book, aren't we? Dead Men Don't Pay. Dead Men Don't Pay. Back in the room. Dead Men Don't Pay is my brand new crime series set in the 60s down in London and features Joseph Walsh and Ray Cribbs. They're two coppers down at M Division, down based in Woolwich, south bank of the river. And in this first book, they're tasked with the investigation of a murder of a dock worker, an immigrant by the name of Gerald Trainer. He's been found dead on the docks. And there is a list a mile long of people who don't like Gerald. But why don't they like him? And are any of them actually the killer? Read on to find out.
Well, we can't talk about the killer or whether or not there is one. Which there has to be.
Well, there has to be because he's dead. I mean, the first page, it tells you he's dead and he's been murdered.
So this is not a spoiler.
No, that's not a spoiler.
We know who's going in.
We're in the crime book club. There's 99 times that. I mean, I know it's a crime book club and there's a whole big world of crime. But let's face it, it's mainly murders.
That's fair enough. Okay, we are tagged, we are pinned, we have our first people watching. It's a good start.
Hello, folks.
Right, let's go right back to the beginning. Before we go to Dead Men Don't Pay, tell us about the Regulators trilogy. Are there going to be more books? Give us a little hint, and they're bloody brilliant. Which side am I at?
Yeah, they are, yeah. There's going to be more books, absolutely. There are characters who survive the end of the third book deadline there. I'm not going to tell you who. No spoilers. But absolutely, there's going to be more books. Number 4, number 5. I've got a plan for 4 and 5. I've got a rough plan for 6. I know how the series ends, and we're nowhere near that point yet. We've got a long way to go for that. There are things that have to happen to certain characters to get us there, and they're not happening in book 4 or 5, so don't worry about it. We start to toy with the idea of what's going to lead to the end in book 4. And there'll be a recurring character for book 4, 5, and probably 6 who starts the process moving. But there's lots of books coming. The Regulators. I have no intention of stopping doing those for the next, probably the next decade.
Excellent. So why start a new series when you've got a trilogy? Well, it's not a trilogy. It's the first 3 books in an ongoing series. Yeah. Why jump to something new now? Why did it feel like the right time?
Before we do, let me just get him in there as well now, because I've used him as a prop, so we should also have him on the show, shouldn't we? There it is. Why change? Well, the Regulators are they're popcorn thrillers. They're wham bam, thank you, ma'am. They're great fun, but I never wanted to be just one sort of writer. I want to write lots of different stories. I want to tell lots of stories. This brain here, as it supposedly is, it's got a lot going on. And it keeps telling me things and keeps asking me to write down things. And every now and again, I have to listen and do something different. If I didn't, I would start talking to the voices, and then we'd have different conversations, and things would all fall apart very quickly. I have to write. I've got no alternative but to write. And there are plenty more stories. And I'm working on the novel I'm writing at the moment. It's a completely different series. Because I have to, I have to tell different stories. And this one's a sort of crossover between crime and science fiction, because ultimately I want to go into science fiction. So I know now, with my supposed business brain on, that you have to do that gradually. You can't just go, I'm also science fiction. well, let's try and bring some of my audience across from crime into sci-fi, see what crossover we've got there, and try and do it in a sensible manner. I'm sorry if you can hear the helicopter that's about to go overhead. Chap from JCB's on his way back home from work. There he goes. He's skiskery. Yeah.
You can normally hear helicopters above my house, but
Hey,
they are not.
Vibrate.
I can't hear one.
He's got.
Can't hear one at all. So, just before we went live, I was telling you how much I love the book, and just so we're debating about the pronunciation of one character, but Joseph and we're going with Zico.
Zico.
I never get it wrong, even though I just asked you. They're my favourites in this book. I really like all of the characters, even the ones you're not supposed to like, because they're so nice. Bad they're good, you know. But Joseph is a bit wet behind the ears.
He's very wet behind the ears.
He's learning quickly. His instincts are good, even if he doesn't know why.
Yeah,
you know, he knows what the right thing to do is, whether or not he's doing that, but he's working on himself, and I like that in a man or a woman or a they them. You know, I like people who work on themselves.
You see, I don't know if he is working on himself.
Really?
It's interesting. Yeah. I mean, perhaps
he's trying to make himself braver. He's trying to make himself do what he thinks is the right thing.
Yeah. I will
debate you about your characters.
I think I was doing a little bit of planning for book 2 in my head earlier today, and I had a little epiphany of how he was going to solve the crime. So I obviously know what's going to happen in book 2 and how he's going to come to the conclusion. And I think that's probably just dimmed my view. It might not be how it happens in the end, but I've got a little bit of I have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with Joseph, because he embodies different things that are not necessarily. How best to describe it? He embodies. He's meant to embody colonialism, quite simply. And what he does is he takes his black immigrant wife's ideas and presents them as his own, because that's what he is. So I don't know if he's a good guy. I think he just still. I think he still
really interesting.
Presents them as his own.
Because to me, he goes home. He has this lovely but a bit odd relationship with his wife.
We can get onto that if you'd like.
We can get onto that. Oh, you are going to explain yourself.
Excellent.
But I feel like, as any couple, I'm sure, you know, my husband makes me a better person, your wife makes you a better person, and that's what I took from it. Now I'm questioning every thought I had.
Well, I mean, this is the question, isn't it? I mean, he's in a way a metaphor, like I says, for colonialism, and obviously race is a big theme throughout the book.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And obviously that has to be reflected in that to a degree, but he also is, like you say, they've got a very positive relationship. It's a very strong relationship. They know each other, and they know where they stand with each other, and they know how to bring out the best in each other. Well, Zico knows how to bring out the best in Joseph. I don't know if we've perhaps seen whether Joseph can bring out the best in Zico, but she seems very happy. And that will be something we explore as we go further throughout the series. And you are right. The series is about his growth. Because if he is a metaphor in this first book, perhaps for some of the old ways of colonialism, then it's only right as we progress that book that he also learns and adapts and evolves as you know, as perhaps Britain, as perhaps he's a version or a metaphor for, has learned and adapted and evolved, and can continue to do so as it goes forward and be a better place for everyone.
See, now you're making me rethink Joseph's relationship with Ray as well, because they're slightly different ages. I'm not sure I've got their ages in my head.
So Joseph is in his 20s, Ray's in his 40s. Ray's a war veteran. So this book being set in the 60s, he's obviously in his mid 40s. So he's been out in World War II, and Joseph grew up as a child in World War II. So they had very different experiences.
Yeah.
But they're both still massively hampered by what happened during that period. They're both still completely formed and shaped, and neither of them talk about it. And when I was researching for the novel, I was thinking about my granddad quite a lot, especially when thinking about the character of Ray and how he didn't talk about the war, despite the fact he was very involved in the war. And when you talk about the golden generation, as they are rightly known, and their experiences in the war, people often say, my dad, my granddad never talked about his experiences.
My granddad never told me a thing.
Never talked about it. And that became a theme then for Joseph and Ray in their relationship. They're both hampered and they're both constricted by what's happened to them in the past, but neither of them will talk about it, despite the fact there's quite a lot of common ground. They're both quite clearly shaped by that event, as they should be, because it was a traumatic event. And I think there was a huge period for a long time where people didn't talk about why they were, and the answer was the bloody war. It changed people's lives. It changed people's outlooks. People went through horrific things that no person should ever have to live through. And then they bottled it up and never talked about it ever again. And this is something that has to come through in both those characters.
There is a scene in the book where I'm just thinking it through in my head, but no, it's fine. They go for a drink together, and there's this realization as they look at each other of we're on different sides of the same event, and it's impacted us both greatly, and our families greatly. And there's that moment of understanding of they're not quite. They're hoping that going for a drink might be, this thing that gels them together, and it does in a way, but it also makes them realize how poles apart they are.
Yeah, I don't know if they're hoping it brings them together. I think they go for the drink because it's what they should do. This is what partners should do. We should go to the pub and have a drink and be jolly old chaps. So they're not looking to build a relationship. They're people who are going through the motions, and both of them are completely shaped by this idea that they should only do what they think they should, what other people think they should do. Joseph, very overtly, he needs to be told everything. He needs orders in his life. Ray, he's partly because he's been made that way by the war, partly because that's just how gentlemen are in that day and age. So they just do these things, and people write relationships and romances, the will they, won't they relationships, the romances and that sort of side of things into their books. My will they or won't they is Joseph and Ray. Will they or won't they become friends? Will they or won't they actually open up to each other and be honest with each other about how they feel? And I feel that's a really nice thread to weave throughout the whole series of how they can build a relationship, how they can perhaps shed some of that. It's not necessarily toxic masculinity, but shed some of that male pride that's stopping them being open and honest about how they feel, especially set in an era like the 60s when you didn't talk about your feelings. You weren't, you didn't express who you were. You didn't express how you felt. You certainly didn't turn around to the chaps at work and say, I've got this problem at home. I've got that problem at home. You laughed it off. You had a couple of pints and that was it.
It is interesting, again, with Ray and Joseph, because I feel like I'm arguing with you about your own characters. Because I feel like Ray is very much, of that generation that didn't really speak. They are, they totally are.
No, they're not.
Joseph is more
everyone's characters.
Joseph, it seems like more fear of saying the right thing, doing the right thing, being the right person, worrying too much about how he's perceived rather than who he is. And Ray seems to be kind of he sees that slowly as we go through the book and tries to kind of get that out of him a bit. But at the same time, like we said, they are very different people. And there's only one generation in there, it shouldn't be this massive, huge thing. But actually, because of the war, it makes it this really big thing.
They've got no commonality. Do you know what I mean? Their childhoods are completely different, and their young adulthoods are completely different in ways that they cannot reconcile. It's just impossible to reconcile. And it makes it so hard for them to find that common bond. And it's a theme that I'm really looking forward to exploring as we go through. I think it sets their relationship really, really well. Obviously, we have to start moving past that as the series progresses. But at this point, this is where they are. This is who they are. And like you say, there is this big, massive reason of the war that they can't get past at this point in time, whether they do or not. I haven't decided. They will tell me. They will tell me.
I really want to go back to the whole thing. I want to start with the setting, the location. So it seems like the absolutely perfect setting because you've got this dockyards. Everyone's, they're all these workers. We open right up into a body, straight away. And the way that I felt like I was watching it on a screen almost because you're turning from one direction to another. Well, it's anything to do with, I'm not going to name the places. I'll let you do that because I don't want to spoil anything. But, you're looking at the place of work, but then you're looking at all the things that happen around the place and all of the, I don't want to give anything away, but the setting is just brilliant because you're looking at home lives, but the home lives really aren't the biggest focus. Joseph's obviously is a huge focus, but we're looking at warehouses, we're looking at pubs, we're looking at walking the streets, we're looking at all of the people who interact in this low wage area. And I think that is such a clever thing because you're not really sure which direction to look in. You're just going with them and seeing what you can learn as you go along. And it was really cleverly done.
Thank you. I think that the reason that it is less about the home lives is because I wanted to deal with these interactions during the early period of immigration into the country. So it's around the time of the Windrush generation and things like that. And again, because race is the key theme within this novel, obviously that wasn't something that was happening in the home very often. Obviously, there are instances when it does cross over into the home, and the book deals with those. It does deal with those. Not all of those, but some of it. But the main interaction between the people in the books would have been in the workplace, where you had this arrival of people who were from outside the area. You had an area that had been impoverished. You had an area that was rebuilding, and there was resentment. There was definite resentment. Unfortunately, with any resentment towards immigration, it is pointed in completely the wrong direction.
Agreed.
And hopefully that's the point that the book gets across. But I also wanted to try and listen to the people who were saying why they felt that resentment and setting out their reasons why they felt the resentment, to see if it then can be looked at and say, well, you're saying you're feeling resentment for these reasons, but actually, if you look at it, it's not the immigrants that you should be resentful towards. It's government, it's your bosses, it's everyone who's screwing you over and saying, blame that guy, blame that guy. No, blame the people above, and always punch up, never down. That it was that balance between explaining people's angst and tensions and also examining whether or not the anger was directed in the right place.
We've got some hello. So Patsy's saying hello.
Hi, Patsy.
I can't see all of the. It gets really frustrating when Facebook does this. I can only see 4 comments.
See what's going down.
Donna's saying congratulations.
Thanks, Donna.
And then she's being cheeky and saying, "Do you remember the '60s from personal experience, Ben?"
I mean, I know I've got.
You're about 2 years older than Donna. Calm yourself.
A little bit of grey in the beard here, but that's. We've just been talking about my thinning hairline before we came on screen, but I feel a little bit seen there, Donna. Thanks.
Well, I'm not. I've stopped dyeing my grey out. There's loads of it now. It's all
you can't
underneath.
really dye beards.
You can, but I don't see why you would. It's very distinguished.
Well, I'd like it to go one way or the other. Do you know, this half and half house ain't the thing. I'll be all right with being a silver fox, but salt and pepper, no. Can't
No, you've got to go through the salt and pepper phase before you earn your silver fox
Been
stripes.
going on for ages. Like I saw this, it's thinning. I just want to go bold. Just get it over and done with. All this in
Donna's saying, Donna's saying, you always give me grief. It's only fair. We're not dyeing our grey out, Donna. I don't know what colour your hair is.
I've never given you grief. Donna. What are you on about?
Well,
I'm not knocking Donna. I've read a book. She scares me now.
We should, seeing as we're mentioning Donna, we should go to the podcast.
Yeah, sure.
So tell us what you've been up to.
So we've got in the group now the UK Crime Book Club podcast, Criminally Inspired.
Brilliant name, by the way.
Thank you. That took a long time, actually.
7 months of tearing your hair out and then going,
Can we stop talking about my hair? Jesus Christ.
No, I was just being a statement.
Dabbing in the back. Good Lord.
What down your pitchfork? It really wasn't a jab at the hair. You look great.
What did we say about podcast? We've obviously got like the author interviews are fantastic. And I wanted to do something, the quiz sort of felt like it run its course a little bit.
I missed the quiz. Stop that right now. You don't miss it.
No, not at all.
No.
It was such a pain in the bum to do.
Because you put so much effort into the questions and the rounds, that's why it was a pain.
Have you noticed?
It made it so good.
Finished the quiz. I've written 2 books. That's all I'm saying. All that time.
All right.
No, it was just taking up too much of my time, and I enjoyed doing it. But Christmas times and the live event, yeah, fair enough. But for a monthly thing, it was just killing me for time, and I had to do something else. And I wanted to continue to give something to the group because the group's given so much to me. So we got the video interview, so I'm not gonna, I don't want to start stepping on toes there. So I didn't want to do that.
Joined in with the video interviews,
Yeah, you guys have got it locked down. I don't think I'm quite maybe no, but anyway, I had an idea. I wanted to talk to authors about what inspires them, and originally the idea was that we can play some tunes and stuff on Spotify, and that would have been great. But that didn't quite work out because we couldn't get the audience. But we still talk about music and films and books and people, places, issues, and the more we talk about what inspires people, the more I'm learning about inspiration, the more the podcast sort of grows, and every week I'm adding a little bit more to my research and what I want to ask people, and it's been really great fun talking to authors. I mean, we've got an incredible author community in the UK CBC.
Yeah,
they're so supportive. People have been great when I've talked to them. I spend an hour and a half a week talking to an AN author about their work, having a great old chat, having a wheeze. It's just great fun. And I hope people have been listening in. I think we've got quite a few subscribers now. Hundreds of plays across Spotify. I've not checked the Apple numbers, but they probably similar. So people are listening. People are enjoying it, and it's one of those that you can listen to again and again. So I mean, we obviously talk about the author's latest book, but I wanted to talk about something that was a bit more timeless, more about them as a person, them as what inspires them, because sometimes you don't always let that necessarily come through in a book, but every now and again, it's like there's an episode coming up with Brian Price that'll be out on Tuesday. When I was recording that, he was talking about the things that he loves musically, for example, that then become little asides in his books and stuff. And it's those sort of little things that you can tease out of the authors that then you can come in on the inside joke and everything. And I was like, yeah, I'm really glad that I asked these questions to you, Brian. Brian, like I said, Brian's is the next episode, so I was listening to it earlier than week, so it's fresh in my mind. And it's such a lovely episode. He's a great character, and everyone we've had on has been a great character. I mean, I had an incredible laugh with Donna talking about her book.
Who tells me that that's a natural colour?
That's her natural colour, is it? There you go. You see, this is my natural colour. The colours, all of the colours of the rainbow.
It's growing out.
But yeah, so it's been great fun, and I've really enjoyed doing it, and I look forward to keep doing it for quite some time. Until I come up with the next idea, whatever that may be.
I feel like you're like me. There's like 1,000 ideas going on, and you go with the one that's grabbing you at the moment, and then you see that through,
You
and
can't
then
get
see
bored.
where you are.
Yeah, you can't get bored, can you? You know, it's you've only got one lap around this old earth, and the moment you start to feel something ain't right, then it's time to knock it on the head. So you have to move on. And I think you don't always necessarily appreciate that when you're younger, but you have kids and stuff, and you sort of have that old mortality conversation in your head and everything, and you sort of prioritize what you want to do and how you want to do it. And that's what I've done. And yeah, I'm loving doing the podcast, and I'll keep doing it for as long as it's fun. And I can't see that changing for a couple of years yet. There's a lot of authors I haven't talked to that I can't wait to talk to. I've got some great ones lined up for the second half of the year. Starting to book a few people in now, and I'm going to open it up to the wider group very shortly, so I can get a few more in. And then we just kick on. I've probably got a list of people that I've still got to get through who emailed me the first tranche that I never got round to, because it's just been so well received, and yeah, it's been great. And just having a ball with it. It's grand.
I feel like your musical tastes are a bit like mine. You like a bit of almost everything.
Yeah, definitely. Music.
It's a huge thing to you.
And it's not, music's massive to me.
Yeah.
Music, I got my playlist. Anyone who's listening to the podcast knows I talk about my playlist. But music, books, film, I cannot stand
there we go.
people who pigeonhole people into genres, right? Used to do my sweet. When I was younger, Oasis were the band that were my musical awakening. It wasn't that I didn't like music beforehand. It wasn't that I didn't like music after, and it wasn't that I didn't like music in different genres. But Oasis were the band that, like any young lad in the 90s, spoke to me. And when I got to uni, I got labelled, because I loved Oasis, I got labelled an indie kid.
I think I still am an indie kid.
I don't really. I was, at that time it was post Britpop, so you got people like Star Sailor and things like that. That was indie. Oh, ain't me. Stop calling me indie. And it's always done my sweet. And I mean, my earliest first sort of music obviously was pop. Then I got into rock and roll, Britpop. Obviously, you couldn't avoid Britpop in the mid-90s.
Couldn't avoid it.
Massively into that. But then, of course, it was like trance and everything was going off in the late 90s. So you get into Britpop, and then Prodigy come along, and you follow it down that dance route. Then you're listening to all the Ibiza classics and watching Ibiza Uncovered and stuff on Sky, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to get out there and go for it and chase the lasers and stuff, mate. So I was into my dance, and then, then came into nu metal, and then through nu metal came into rap and hip hop. And now I just love music. I mean, music, if it's got drama, if it's got a bit of soul, if it's got a bit of passion, if it's got a bit of something intangible, I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to love it. I don't care what genre it is. Again, we was talking to Brian Price on the last podcast about music, and we both said we sort of jumped from the rock stations to the classical stations. So I love a bit of Scala, Six Music, Kerrang, Radio X, and then I also have my playlists. I mean, the less said about my playlist, the better. They're a labour of love, and I keep trying to find ways to improve them. But if I was to pop up, how many songs have I got on my thing there? Does it tell me if I...
That's interesting. Have you ever had that moment yet, while you're looking up how many songs you've got on your playlist, where, so all the songs that are my playlist that YouTube has created for me, I listened to them during the lockdowns when you were allowed a family member. Me and my nephew sat opposite sides of the back garden.
Yeah, no, see, I don't stream.
Well,
everything I've got is on my hard drive. I don't stream music.
We were playing kind of different things, and I just press play on my playlist on YouTube. So anything I kind of listen to, it suggests loads of different things. These songs hit different when you listen to them with people who are younger than you, that you are related to. Words that you have never, phrases that you have never picked up on. And me and my nephew sat in the backyard. I mean, don't get me, he's an adult. He was old enough to hear the songs. We were having a few drinks, and we camped out in the back garden because we could. So we had a tent each, and we kind of sat out all night. But some of the songs, oh my word, the things that come up in them.
Mate, the 90s. I was listening to he's Wigfield. He's Wigfield. I'm going to bring up here. Well, I was listening to Wigfield the other day. I can't remember if it's not Saturday Night. It must be When I Think of You, which was a second or third.
Oh, okay.
And the line is, when I think of you, I need you inside me tonight. What? And this was on top of the pops and the charger and everything. And you're like, oh, that's a bit saucy, Wiggy. You don't even think about it. Boom, Boom, Boom by the Out Here Brothers is just pure filth. But you're unaware of the lyrics when you're a kid. James Lade, she only screams when she's on top. Of course she does. Because you're terrible.
Why did I go down this road?
But you're right. My son's just like discovered Eminem, and he's like, Dad, can I listen to some Eminem? I'm like, no, mate.
And then you really start thinking about the words.
Work out which songs, and he keeps bugging me. Which Eminem songs can I listen to? I'm like, well, you definitely listen to Lose Yourself, and Think Curtain Call.
He's going to hear them anyway. You might as well hear them in the same place.
This is it. I was thinking, when was I listening to stuff like that? And he was probably about 13, 14.
Yeah, younger than we understood what was happening in the song.
Well, this is it. You hear the words. I think we're a much more hands-on generation in that respect, in terms of trying to decode the messages that are going to our kids. I think we're a lot more media savvy than perhaps our parents were. So, I will happily have a conversation with my lad or my daughter about what they're listening to, what they're hearing, what they're imbibing in a media sense. Because being a media student and working in the industry and also writing, I feel empowered to be able to answer those questions. But also at the same time, then we're also talking about the music and sharing that, love for the music, and being a big 90s kid when it comes to music. It's impossible for me not to want to share that love with my kids, because it's coming out my speakers quite a lot, so they've got to listen to it, and they're going to have these. What does that mean? What does that mean? But half the time, they'll hear the words, and it just completely goes over their head, and you're like, oh yeah, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And it didn't matter to me. Oh yeah. And I heard it, and I didn't turn out a wrong one. Not completely anyway. But yeah.
You mentioned Eminem. It leads me on to let everybody know your social media handles. Sorry
again.
Your social media handles. I did wonder if Eminem had influenced them. So on Twitter, you are The Real Ben Bruce.
Yeah, no, what? I just did that to annoy somebody I didn't like.
But it's a memorable one. I literally remember it. I remember nothing, but
it's the Real Ben Bruce. But yeah, no, I just did that to annoy somebody I don't like, and that's all the airtime he's getting.
Fair enough. I'll just quickly say the song that I first listened to and was surprised with my nephew was Q-Tip, Breathe and Stop. There are some bits in that where I looked at my nephew and was like, okay, next song. But the next song didn't end up being any better.
I haven't listened to that one for a while. That's obvious.
It's one of those that
I'm going on iTunes store
musically hits the spot, but now it's that thing of the wording. Ooh.
I don't think I can't believe I've not got that.
We should warn everyone. We are going to go off on a tangent with various things.
We're gone.
We've been friends for a while now. We don't talk a lot, but we finally met in Leeds last year when we were at the first Leeds event.
Yeah, didn't make it this year.
We may have been responsible for some Jaeger bombs. By we, I mean I may have been responsible for.
Don't remember. We had a few shandies afterwards, didn't we? We had a few shandies.
It was a great event. The one this year was great as well.
Very well behaved after, to be fair. We didn't.
I think we're pretty well behaved.
None of us were running around the streets finding strays, did they?
No, saying nothing, moving on. I want to go back to the location of the book because I really want to know when you sat down with this idea, because you are one of the busiest people I know. And I know a lot of busy people. No, you are a hands-on dad and husband. You work, you find time to write, you do all like sport things, you know, coaching and stuff. I don't know how you manage to do it all. So that's one of the things we'll come to.
If I didn't, I'd just be drunk. This is what I found. I have to do stuff or I go down the pub. So for my own sobriety.
Oh, it's where I'm going wrong. I mean, I don't go to the pub, but yeah, it's where I'm going wrong. Yeah. But when you were thinking of the location, when you were starting the book, basically, what were the first thoughts in your head? Because you've been really, really organised with this one. All right, you came across as really, really organised with this one.
Do you know, it's that's really hard for me to answer because mainly because I don't remember. I think it was always going to have to be London, because when you think about the 60s in this country, that was where it was at. I didn't want to do small town stuff. I wanted to have a location where I could do all of the themes that I wanted to do. So the plan has always been to look at themes that are relevant today through the lens of the past, and to allow people to have a discussion in their own heads or out loud with other people about whether or not we have progressed as a society and whether or not we have progressed enough. I'm going to say now, but that's up to everyone else to make their own decision. And there will, you know, that they're the themes that are going to come up throughout the series. So, you know, we don't dealt with race in this one. I'm not saying we're not going to. Obviously, we're going to have to deal with race continually because we've got a mixed race marriage going on. But, you know, we can talk about gender, we can talk about sexuality, we can talk about all sorts of different things throughout the rest of the series. And I couldn't do that if I said it in Nuneaton. That's, you know, that's not going to work. You know, there wasn't the scope to do that. It wouldn't be genuine. So it had to be a big city, and of all the big cities, I feel I know London the best. I felt in terms of research material, I felt it was the easiest to access, and therefore to do an accurate portrayal of what was going on at that time. That was the way it had to be.
Do any of the themes scare you? Because tackling race as a white man in England, not necessarily the easiest thing, and I think you handle it really well. You don't shy away from different terms and different attitudes, because that's basically the point. You know, it's a big part of the point that you are showing how your characters, whether it's the police characters, whether it's, you know, the suspects, whether it's people in general that happen to be part of the story that you've created, you don't shy away from it. And I don't know, is that scary?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to break this question down into two answers.
Okay.
I don't shy away from telling a story that includes race from a white man's perspective. I would never try and tell that story from Zico's perspective. There's an absolute reason why that would never happen, because I have never lived that experience. It would not be for me to tell. And I know people sort of rail against write what you know, and I personally don't agree with that. I say write what you want to write. However, when it comes to issues of other people's suffering that is a real fact, Jesus Christ, right? No, you ain't. And I'm not getting involved in telling other people's stories. So I've dealt with it solely from the perspective of a white, confused man. So in that respect, I've tried to deal with it sympathetically, the story, but I've also allowed myself that scope to be wrong, for want of a better word, because I am sure that there will be plenty of people out there who will go, well, that's not quite how it should be. And what I've I've not tried to tell anyone else's story. And it's not my story to tell. Those stories need to come from authentic voices, and they need to be told by authentic voices, and we need to champion those authentic voices. And I would love nothing more if this series ever got optioned for a TV show, for it to be taken on and written by somebody who could tell the story of Zico authentically and tell this book, Dead Men Don't Pay, from her perspective, because I don't know it, and I would love to know what she's going through. So I've very, very consciously avoided doing that, and I will, hand on heart, say I have no intention of writing any scene from her perspective, unless I can do it where it doesn't have to involve something that I don't think is my story to tell. What was the question I hadn't got to? Does it
Say that again?
Does it scare me?
Okay.
Sorry,
I told you deaf as a post, and you've got a beard now.
Yeah, exactly.
So lip reading.
Well, no, I've had it trimmed. I trimmed yesterday so that my lips are visible.
No, I'm getting there, but you whispered at the same time and nothing.
Does it scare me? I'm interested to know. I am genuinely interested to know how people react to this novel and whether or not I've made a mistake in writing it. I'm not scared to have said that I'm, to have put my neck out and told the story, but I'm willing to listen and learn from the perspective of people who perhaps know a little bit better about what the story is about than me, and their input. And, if there are people who sit there and go, I think you've got this right, Sam, come and talk to me, because I want to learn. I want to understand better, and I want to try and be a better ally.
See, now, I do think you've got this right. I think the balance there of people being horrible, people learning from the situations around them, people questioning things and questioning their own interpretation of what's going on around them. I think all of that is really well represented.
Well, I think it's a gap in the market. The conversations that we've had around race, especially in the last few years. I mean, the idea of this book all came out of the idea of Black Lives Matter, and when that happened, I wanted to be an ally. I wanted to show my allyship, and I used my social media to champion Black creators that I knew were fantastic. But there's a gap. There's a hole between Black Lives Matter and perhaps some white lived-in experiences. There's a disconnect that perhaps hasn't completely been resolved. And I spent a lot of time considering how I can bring other people who I know. I've got a friend who I was thinking about a lot when I was writing this book, and he once said to me, I don't want to be a racist, but I know sometimes I am, and I don't know how not to be. I know I should be more sympathetic, but I can't be, because I just don't understand. And I thought, well, that's so true of a lot of white people I know. They don't understand. They don't perhaps have that empathetic edge necessarily. They look at the situation. They look at big noisy ideas like defund the police and Black Lives Matter and go, well, hold on a minute, all lives matter, or we need the police. They don't perhaps grasp the nuances of what's being said.
Yeah.
And I wanted to try and write a book from the perspective of someone like that, who's going, I don't quite understand what the hell is going on, but I don't want to be a racist. And throughout the series, perhaps get them to the point, Joseph goes on a journey, and perhaps the readers go on a journey alongside it, where they go, actually, I've learned a little bit about how I can be an ally, how I can support minority communities that are demonized, that are still marginalized, and not represented in the way they should be in every aspect of life. And I think when we talk about how white, straight, middle-aged, middle-class men can be an ally, that's the best way, is to try and bring other people along for the ride. And that's what I decided I was going to do. And that's what this series is about. It's me trying to affirm my allyship and trying to bring a couple of people on board as we go along. And hopefully people sit there and go, I do understand why this is hard for people. I do understand why these things happen. I do understand that it's wrong. I'm not going into the whole depth of everything. I mean, there are things within the book that we haven't touched on yet that I use as metaphors to sort of emphasize my point. But, there are also some really complex issues that I can't get into yet. And that'll come in another series because, I've not finished talking about this, and I'm not going to finish talking about this. This is something I'm massively, massively passionate about, is genuine equality by race, creed, colour, sexuality, transsexuality, all of it. Do you know what? We're all one same bag of bones and stardust, man. Just all get on with each other and stop being so flipping pathetic.
I really do love the bag of bones and stardust. That is a great way of putting it.
I'm paraphrasing Arab Strap, the turning of our bones there. The song. What's the line from the turning of our bones? We're all just. I'm gonna have to.
Gonna Google it.
Bones, Arab Strap, lyrics. Da, da, da. Where are we?
I love this. Googling live.
Yeah, sorry, this is, but we're all just carbon, water, starlight, oxygen, and dreams, which is far more poetic than I can. It's an absolute banger of a tune. It's a really great song about getting old. And still,
all right, you're gonna have to send me the link to that, because I have not.
Kind of being like freaky, and it's rude, it's grand. Again, another song that's got all that like very overtly sexual lyrics. If Bacchus is the cup of love, then no. If Bacchus is the drink of love, then take this cup of kindness. Just one sip, something can cure us all of blindness. It's absolutely fantastic. Great.
Okay, I shall need that link.
Yeah.
What else do you want to discuss from?
I mean, we haven't talked about the kink, have we?
Go for it. Sitting back. You go.
Ask away.
Well, okay. The thing is, the scenes are so good and so surprising. I don't want to spoil any of them.
No, yeah, it's true.
So how about we just start with the first one, which will lead people into kind of the thing.
Yeah.
So talk to me about the table.
So I mean, we've already talked.
When I was reading this, I was saying to my husband, like, I'm just going to read this out to you because I'm really, really like, what is going on? What is going on? And obviously, when you read it and then you move on to the next bit and you get it more and more and more. But I was really kind of like, what's the word? Surprised. Surprised by the scene, but I really liked it.
It's one of those things. I mean, I think, like I said, the whole idea of it, the book came about during Black Lives Matter and things like that, and the discussions about defund the police and how the police should perhaps serve the people, to protect and serve and things like that. And I was really interested in the idea of the power dynamics that were going on at that point between police and people and civilians, especially in America, where it was very overtly being played out. And I was thinking about power-based relationships, which obviously led to kink.
Natural progression. I see where you went there.
But it is, it is where it is played out in quite a visual format. And I'd already decided that Joseph was going to be a bit of a limp character. He was going to be a little bit weak-willed.
I said he was a bit wet behind the ears.
Well, I mean, it says in the first chapter, so there's no spoilers here, that he needs to be told. And I know I know that a lot of people who are in the lifestyle will sit there and go, no, it's people who don't like to be told, that like to be told in the bedroom and stuff. Joseph's character is such that he has to be told in everything. It's just the way he is. He needs to be ordered around. He has a job of responsibility where he's a police officer, and he's very scared of that job, to be honest. He's petrified of the responsibility. So he copes with it by letting everyone else make every decision in his life. And that extends in every facet. So one of the things that they do in their relationship is that she will sort of control him, in the sense that she will tell him what to do. For example, be a table. So it's never, at this point, it's never been a complete, it's not, when I say it's kink, it's not sexual.
She's very much trying to get him to think outside the box and kind of open him to new experiences.
Exactly. It's never a sexual thing that they do. It is always she gives him metaphors by which to live by. And they bring him to answers, and they bring him to moments of realization. And it's just a great vehicle for her to deliver that which he needs, and to do it in a way that commands all of his attention, because that's what he needs. And it just completes their relationship to the point whereby I can tell the story that I need to tell through them having this little side of their life that is probably very alien to everybody who's reading it, very alien to myself. It's certainly not something that I've ever partaken in. Although the wife did say to me the other day, we were watching Gogglebox, and no, we weren't. We were watching Secret Diary of a Call Girl, and someone was licking someone's shoes, and she went, "Would you lick my shoes?" jokingly. And I said, "No." And then I was like, "But my book." You've not read it.
There's definitely a whole dom sub sort of thing going on between them. You're saying it's not kind of a sexual thing, and fair enough, it doesn't end up in the bedroom mainly. No. But there is definitely that kind of aspect going on between them. I don't know how much more you're going to explore this in the next book.
I mean, I know exactly what's going to happen in the next book on that one. Because there has to be a progression, because it's the second book. But I don't want it.
I hadn't really considered that. I can't wait for book 2.
I'm not writing 50 Shades of Grey. No. I probably should do, because I'd be rich. But I really believe there's a conversation that needs to be had about power dynamics and between the police and the general public. I mean, we're in a crime book club, and I've worked with the police in my day job, and I've spoke to police for my research, and I'm sure they're all as equally as appalled as I am by what we saw this week. And we still haven't perhaps got a balance, especially when it comes to racially profiled groups. We haven't got the balance where policing perhaps is as level as it can be. And I hope that's not a controversial thing to say. And if there's any members of our, law enforcement who feel that's not right, well, that's a conversation I'll be willing to have with you in a pub sometime, and we can chat it through. But we're not quite in a position where people 100% trust the police at the moment. And that's through a number of rotten apples, and certainly not the good cops. I've worked with tons and tons of good cops. I know lots and lots of good cops personally.
Yeah, me too.
And they're fantastic people, and they do an incredible job of keeping the public safe. I wouldn't make police officers the heroes of my books if I didn't believe that police, for the large part, are good and well-intentioned people. However, there are bad and poor-intentioned people within that group. And therefore, we need to have a discussion about how we structure policing around public accountability. we moved perhaps towards that with police commissioners that we can elect, but that became very quickly politicized, and it became less about doing the job of representing the people and more about representing the parties, which is not what it should have been about. So I would love for society to have a bigger conversation about the power dynamics between police and people and who they serve. More so, I think, on the other side of the pond, where there is clearly a problem with people having far too much power in their hands. Again, you only have to look at this week to see an example where somebody who is completely innocent has lost their life in the most ridiculous of circumstances. It's a pathetic incident.
So how do you feel like you will move this on through your books? How do you feel that, because you're obviously passionate about good overcoming evil, let's just break it down to, you know, its simplest form. How much pressure do you feel as an author to try and move conversations along, to show both sides of the story? I mean, both sides, it's far more multifaceted than that, isn't it? There are so many sides. There are so many different variations of opinions.
This is it. And this is annoying because I know how the book ends and it answers you. I know how the
you can
answers your question, and I don't want to go. I don't want to go too far. I believe that there are conversations that need to be had, and I believe there are conversations that have been had. Let me say this: I believe there are conversations that have been had, and the reason I set this book in the 60s is to show how far we have come. And the reason I've not said it in the future is to show how far we can come. We're not there yet. And me and you, never will be. But maybe my kids will be. Maybe my grandkids will be. And as long as we keep having conversations, as long as we never settle for the status quo, as long as there's always somebody raising a rabble, as long as there's always an activist out there saying this isn't where it should be yet, eventually we will get there. And that's truly what I believe. And I don't expect to get the answers in my lifetime, but I do expect things to get better.
And Ray and Joseph do have that very conversation, don't they, quite early on in the book? Is it early on or is it midway? I'm trying to think exactly where it is, but it's certainly not a spoiler because
I've no idea. I've never read it.
Big things. You must have read it about 17 times at least during rewrites
just
and
a few
everything.
times.
But it's a very so I smiled halfway through because Kaz is saying two legends in one place, and when Kaz Maston is calling you a legend, that's a nice thing.
Who's just come in the room? Didn't see me kids come in.
We have gone over time, but I'm aware that you're in no rush.
I'll talk all night. Yeah. I've seen the people bobbing up and down on the boats on the Seine, so I'm till I start getting a bit of dry mouth and I need another beer. We're all good.
Oh, ill prepared. Should have brought one with you.
I brought two, and I've drank. I'll text Vicky. Bring me up some gin.
Just make sure you put a please and some kisses on the end of that text. Come on.
Yeah, I always put always kissing. That's how we know if we've had an argument, if the message doesn't have kisses on the end. You know, someone's got a bag, or if there's no kisses on the end of the message, it's a good way to know you're in trouble.
When you were planning, sorry, say that again.
I'm sharing too much. She's going to be absolutely seething if she watches this.
Oh, she's got any sense. She just won't be listening to you.
If she had any sense, she'd have divorced me long ago. So I think we've realised we're well past that.
You do. You hit a certain point and you think, we're in it now.
I'm stuck with them. Yeah, it's too expensive to get divorced. Bloody hell, forget that.
I can see the cover behind you moving swiftly on before either of us get into trouble. I'm trying to pick mine up from behind me, and mine's on my phone. I did actually read it on Kindle Unlimited though, so you would get paid for it. I
I
was
think
well
so.
aware that you sent
Oh,
me a
that's why
copy, and
me
I'm very
That's
grateful.
why me KEMP was shooting up today, was it?
Is it me?
It must have been you. Yeah, yeah. I won't. That was the embarrassing thing, right? I actually forgot that the book was coming out yesterday. I thought it was today. So I always
Yeah,
check me.
yeah.
I always check me sales in the morning. Like I had a look and I was like, bloody hell, sold a load of books overnight. What's going on there? I had like some really good reviews or something. Then I was like, oh no, it's just be pre-orders. The book's out.
Well, luckily, Kath Middleton was on it in the book club for you.
She was. I
So
haven't got a clue.
there's a legend for you.
Oh, Kath's brilliant and a good writer.
We've got a bloody good team, haven't we?
Yeah, yeah. Even that Sam Brownlee.
Yeah, she's all right. She'll do.
Yeah.
What kind of did you do? It's a stupid question. Did you do anything for publication day? Clearly not. Yeah, I forgot about it, Sam. Move on.
What I should have done, right, was made this the launch party. And I absolutely, completely messed up there. Yeah, I just totally.
To be fair, you did have an interview scheduled with our gorgeous Karen Huxtable.
Yeah,
and work got in the way, and then I couldn't have offered you a date yesterday because there wasn't one. Somebody else.
Yeah, but I should have made this it and just gone for it anyway. Do you know what? I'm terrible at launches. Nobody wants to come to see me and have a look at me books and stuff. No,
of course they do.
And what am I going to do? Just sit there and sign books? I don't. Somebody asked me to sign my book the other day, and I was like, I don't even know what my signature is. And it changed between. I did 3 signings, and it's got 3 different signatures in the book. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Like, have it down a pub or something?
At what point do you get past imposter syndrome and create yourself an author signature?
I mean, I tried. I've got it, but I'm not very good at it.
But you will do.
No one gets
the
past
more you sign.
No one gets past imposter syndrome. Once you've got it, it's part of who you are. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do next. You know, I've written books now, and so I've written books. God, I don't feel like an author. And now I've written, I finished the first part of the trilogy off of the regulars. I don't feel like I've completed that. And then I started the second series, and I still don't feel like an author. I'm never going to feel like an author. That's never going to happen. You know, I can get an agent and a publisher, and I still won't feel like an author. It's not who I'm going to be. Some people just don't feel that that's who they are, and I think it's a good thing because it keeps you honest and it keeps you pushing. But I probably do need an agent or a publisher or some sort of marketing team at the very least to at least remind me on which day my book comes out. That's clearly an issue that this self-published.
Do you know what? Drop it in the admin chat and we will support you.
Yeah, well, I did. Didn't I tell you?
And then Kath did support you. She was the one who got there first.
Right. Can you also do all my marketing for me?
Not all of it, but we can help.
Because that's the bit I struggle with. I hate doing marketing.
You're not good at being the centre of attention.
I hate it. Hate it. Have you not noticed how deflective I've been throughout this whole interview?
No, you've been really, really open. And I think it helps that we've had some discussions over the years. And then there was a joke in the comments about me buying doubles. And Sarah Blackburn saying doubles, and Donna saying, yes, she looks sweet and innocent.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's one of the marketing. Talking's talking. Talking's talk. I can talk. But I'm going to ask you a question. I can answer a question. But when you're marketing a book, I don't think we talk about this enough as often. I can do this. I could do this all day long, as we've noticed. We're running over.
Well, you did say you don't need to cut me off at 8 o'clock, so I've not cut you off at 8 o'clock.
But the difference then comes down to when you're marketing, you've got to have some sort of strategy. You've got to have some sort of plan. You've got to know where to send things to. And you've also got to follow up to emails. Hello, Donna. Hi, Donna. Thanks for sending me an email about blog tours and stuff. I am going to email you back. I just keep forgetting. It's in the list of emails that I haven't sent and text messages that I haven't sent that I keep forgetting about. You wouldn't believe I have a freelance career where I rely on doing things like that to keep.
No, I would.
But it's but it's one of those things that I really struggle to believe. No, that's crap. No, it's true that I really struggle to believe that I have a right to insist upon people's time, column inches, website space, blah 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 blah. All of that. You know, I probably would have worked really well 100 years ago when I could have been one of those authors who was just like, you know, drinking themselves to death and had somebody write the book, and you know, I'll write the book and somebody market it and I'll drink myself to death and do copious amounts of whatever they were snorting or stuffing at that point. That would have been fine. I would have made a fantastic...
But we are not of that generation, Ben.
No, I would have made a fantastic 1920s author. I'd have been one of those that they wrote about for years to come for his party and flamboyant spirit. However, I live in the 21st century and you've got to like have a social media presence and you've got to tweet in certain way. Not tweet, I don't need Twitter anymore that much if I can avoid it. I've got a thread in a certain way. I've got a Facebook in a certain way. I've probably got to join TikTok. And
The problem with us, Ben, is we are the helpers and not the helped. And that's the thing. We are very, very good at putting the attention on other people. But the second it's on us, don't like it.
Yeah. I don't.
And I have a TikTok account I've never signed into.
It's just a pain, isn't it? And it's knowing what to say, and it's knowing how to sell yourself, and it's knowing how to promote a book, and it's knowing writing a blurb. Who came up with writing a blurb? Just have a look at the cover art. Someone else designs the cover for me. Does that look nice? The person who came up with the phrase "Don't judge by a book by its cover," I've got a real issue. Honestly. Judge a book by its cover. My covers are great. Right?
That cover.
My books.
That's what I was starting to say before. You do say the name of your cover designer.
Sean Strong, yeah.
There we go. And it's such a striking cover. And you're right, you can't help but, you know, I don't often read other people's blurbs before I read the book, I'll be honest, because I can generally pick up what's going to happen from the blurb. And I'd rather not pick up what's going to happen from the blurb. I think sometimes they give a lot away without realising they give a lot away.
Yeah, I probably have done that, actually, thinking about it. Oh, for God's sake.
No, I'm not talking about your book.
Ruin my books.
I'm not talking about your book. No, yours is fine.
No, but I think about it, I have done.
And all the others are fine. It's just the way my brain works. It's these patterns. But, yeah, blurbs.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of
if it's not your thing to write it, don't be the one to write it. But how do you balance that moving forward? You're not good at, I think you were very, very good at being interviewed and chatting about yourself and chatting about your books. You're great at it. But you would prefer to be the behind the scenes person. You want to be the author and not looked at. How do you reconcile that moving forward, knowing that the more books you write, the more you're going to have to put yourself out there?
I don't know if that's 100% true. I don't mind this. This I love. I could sit on a panel and talk for a week. Festival organisers, I can sit on a panel and talk for a week.
You're clearly very good at chatting.
This man here. And I could do that, but no one wants me. I could do that. That's fine. I love that. That's brilliant. Just get me talking. Just let me sit with a glass in my hand and let me talk. That's fantastic.
You're like one of those things we had as a kid where you used to press the top and it just spin and spin.
The thing is, I've always had there's a layer in my head. There's a buffer between brain and mouth, and when I was younger, that buffer got in the way of the mouth, and it stopped me talking, and it stopped me saying things, and it made me a wallflower. And as I got older, I learned to stop that. I learned to kill that, and learned to go impulsively, and I learned to talk, obviously, which is great. However, when you type something down, you then look at it, and that gives the voice a little chance to come back and don't say that, don't say that, don't do that, don't. What will people think of that? What will and that voice comes back. So it's the format. I could gladly sit here and talk to anyone, anytime, anywhere. But it's the considering what I've got to do is when the voice comes in and says, "You don't need they don't need to know that about you. They don't need to hear about that. You don't quite belong there. You don't." And that's where that voice comes in. That's where that imposter syndrome, if you want to call it that, sort of kicks in, and you sort of sit there and go, "Oh yeah, let's not do that." And then of course there's the other things that just stop you being organised, like work, life, everything else that goes in the way. Coaching an American football team and never played it till last year, stuff like that. Playing Football Manager, and all the other stuff that goes in life that gets in the way of actually being organised and committed to any sort of marketing process that I could do better. But I was working in a restaurant where I come out of university, and a chap come up to me. He says, "I've got a business card for you. I'd love you to come in and have an interview at some time." "What's it for?" "Sales. You'd be great at it." "I wouldn't, mate. I hate it. Selling stuff to people. You either want it or you don't, mate. It ain't up for me to decide that for you. I'm not going to convince you otherwise. You come into a restaurant, you're obviously hungry. I can get you some food. That's fine. I can have a chat with you. If I come to your door and try and, if I'm phoning up a business going, "Do you need this XYZ computer, whatever?" "No." "Sam, see you later, mate. I'm not going to argue with you. You tell me no." And it's the same with books. I can't convince you to read my books. I'm not going to. "Do you want to read them?" "Maybe." "That's fine." "Do you want to read them?" "No." "That's fine. I don't care."
I'm just still nodding. Can I tell you my one and only sales thing I ever did? And I'm chuffed about it, and it was probably 20 years ago. Some poor young lad came to my door trying to sell me double glazing, and at the time I was selling gift wrap and greetings cards. So I took his lunch money, get him something for his mum.
Brilliant.
I didn't know it was his lunch money at the time, but I did sell him something for his mum, and he probably walked away wondering what happened.
What has it happened? See, you could have done it. So this is why you.
Oh no. I'm really
There's an agent in there. There's an agent in there. Now, I mean, I did the charity fundraising and stuff, and that's a worthy cause. And you're trying to stop people. "Oh, excuse me, mate, do you want to give £25 to World Vision a month? Help people see." "No." "All right, see you later." No, chase them down the street. Well, don't chase them down the street. You're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, please don't chase people down the street, Ben.
Huh?
Please don't chase people down the street.
You only take a certain amount of steps when you're a chugger. You can only, I think it's 3 or 4 steps towards a person, then you have to stop, or you're breaking the law, or not breaking the law. You can't go to jail, but chuggers are sort of bound by how many steps they can take. There's something you might not have known, people.
Donna's saying how you're describing the whole kind of thing about pushing your own books is how she feels. I'm guessing a lot of people feel the same. It's not an easy thing. I suppose that the thing is you focus on your book and not the fact that you've written it, which sounds contra.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Indicate.
I didn't get it. I didn't understand that one. No, I think
you focus on selling your book and not yourself, and then you're talking about the product and not the person.
I think
it wouldn't exist without you.
Well, I think this is it. I mean, we've sat here and we've talked about my book today, and I've probably talked about it in a more erudite and clear manner than I have done ever, because you've asked me questions about it, and I've answered the questions about it without thinking that I am answering questions about my book or selling it. But if I was to sit there and be asked to write a press release about said book, it just wouldn't compute. It just wouldn't be a thing that I could do, because it's context and it's pressure, and maybe it is I do believe in imposter syndrome. I think it's quite clearly a thing. Like I said, I don't think it goes away. I once had the pleasure of listening to Charlie Brooker talk about his imposter syndrome, and just sitting there thinking, but you're great. You're a genius, and you feel it, which was nice, because you sit there and go, well, if somebody that amazing can feel it, then at least it's all right to feel it. But also at the same time, I kind of hoped it would one day go away.
I'm sure it will.
Maybe. Like I said, I think I need to go back to the 20s when there was other ways of making feelings go away. Maybe the 90s.
You wouldn't be the person you are now to write this book, would you?
I jest. I do not want to class A my feelings and insecurities away. Not now, anyway. Maybe when I was 20.
So
I've just
I
lost
have
a
to
lot.
ask, how far into you? I'm cutting you off.
No,
How
don't. Yeah, it's
far
good.
into book 2 are you in this series?
Planning phase. There are a few words written, but I'm writing a brand new book in a brand new series at the
Do you
moment.
write it in order?
What? Oh yeah, I always write in order. How do
Really?
people not write in order? Who are these freaks who write? How do you do it? What is that? I can't possibly do that. No, God, no. That's weird. But people do it. I don't know how. But I hear these speaking to authors when they're like, "Oh, I'll storyboard it and I'll write out this chapter and I'll write out that chapter." And like, why would you do that? Are you not living it as well? No, scary. So yeah, I've started. There's a few words down. There's a few notes about what's going to happen in certain parts of the book. So I know what happens in different places.
Do you reckon that could change throughout, or do you tend to kind
Yeah.
of stick to it?
Oh yeah, no. The key things there are key things that have to stay, but my phone is littered with ideas that never came to fruition that were like, oh, yeah, that'll happen. For the Regulators and Dead Men. And then, once you get to that point of the story, well, the character's done this, the character's done that, and they've gone their own way, and this doesn't fit anymore. And you save it for another day, the Regulators, there was a real will they or won't they moment with Jack and Thea in the Regulators for book 3 originally, and that didn't happen. Obviously, that never came up, but maybe one day. I think I've kind of passed that now. I think they've moved on. I think that ship sailed. Bless them.
I think we've gone just a smidgen over. I think we should probably start to wrap things up.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
because I don't remember the last time I did an hour and a half interview.
Sorry,
but we did say no. We did say
we did. Yeah,
Friday night we'll chat and we'll just keep going. But at some point you need to put your kids to bed.
Vicky, Joe, I did 2 nights on the trot certain tonight.
Mine are old enough to put themselves to bed now. Not that
one of mine could manage it. The other one is I don't. The other one is very much like he's going to be a character from Dude, Where's My Car?
I do not know. I've heard of that. I've never watched it. So you're going to have to explain your joke to me.
Well, he's just, bless him. He's a lovely lad. He's full of enthusiasm. He's full of the joys of life, and he's really, really smart. But I think he's deliberately becoming less smart. Bless him. Just like oblivious to the world, but he means to be oblivious. He's choosing to ignore what's in front of him, and that
makes him super smart.
I've got to be honest, I kind of envy him a little bit, you know what I mean? But we were on a talk party.
Yeah, we can't always take on everything.
We were having a conversation about Santa this morning, and the youngest is like, I don't believe in Santa. He doesn't exist. It's just you and Mummy. And the eldest is like, nah, it's magic. He does it all by magic. And that's because he's just like, I can't be bothered with dealing in the reality of the situation. I'm just gonna believe whatever I want to believe.
Ben Bruce, the elf spoiler alert.
Sorry.
You can't just announce that. I know we're a crime book club, but if you're watching with your kids, I do apologise.
I mean, if you're watching with your kids,
I very much doubt
things we've talked about earlier about Wigfield's lyrics, about
it's funny, isn't it, that I wasn't worried about any of that, but Ben Bruce comes to the screen and says that, and we leave the conversation. Isn't it funny the things that you can get away with saying in a crime book, but you can't really say in real life?
I'm going to do a Regulators Christmas special this year.
Ooh.
I've decided.
So like a novella.
Yeah, for the Christmas shorts.
Yeah. Oh.
I've decided.
Right, let's give Will and Kath the plug here. So go on, talk about the shorts.
Oh, we do shorts. What did you say? We do shorts on UK Crime Book Club, and we're doing some at Christmas. And if you're an author, you can write a little short. Will announce it in the group beforehand, so
of course
contact him for. It's not like a free for all, all right? It's not a free for all.
You get allocated a spot, and the next one's the Halloween ones.
Yeah, but I'm waiting for Christmas because I've got a Regulators Christmas special that's just been burning away in my head for a little while. I'm like, yeah, I've got to write that. That'll be fun.
I like the sound of that.
Love Christmas.
Can't not love Christmas, even if, you know, I think it's become too commercialized. I think the moments that we have with people are the important bit.
Yeah, absolutely. The moments that we have.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I believe in when we talk about commercialized. I don't always know if I know what that means. Does that mean that we buy too much stuff? Is it presents?
Probably.
Food. If it's food, right? I totally disagree because we can commercialize buying food all that we want.
I think it should be about the moments rather than the excessive amounts of gifts.
But those moments should be with like cheese and pork pie and crackers and all sorts in your hand and a couple of, you know, some glue vine and stuff going on. That, I mean, we talk about the commercialization of Christmas, but we've brought in these German elements recently, the Christmas markets and stuff. That's the commercialization of Christmas, and they are absolutely brilliant. So
they are, but you said glue vine, and a bit of me just no more glue vine.
Oh no, glue vine and a bratwurst. Fantastic.
Give me another couple of years, and I might get past it.
Did I enjoy that?
Oh no, I really did. That was the problem.
Oh, you really enjoyed it.
Really enjoyed it a few years back. Yeah. Oh,
I see. I've never had a reaction to that when I've had too much of something and then gone never again. Get back on that horse. Get back on that horse, Sam.
No, not there yet. I'm not there. Absolutely not there yet. Right.
We said we were wrapping this up. Now we're on about
we
Christmas.
did. Donna's saying, I'm glad you did. I'd have been gutted if you stopped at an hour. Well, we're stopping now, Donna. We've done an hour and a half.
Yeah.
We're not going to make this a regular thing, but I don't know. When you get chatting, sometimes it's just nice to keep chatting. Yeah. Right. This is a bloody brilliant book. Tell people what they're going to go and buy.
Oh, yeah. Right. So let's bring it back to the fore. Dead Men Don't Pay came out yesterday, which was news to me. Set in the 1960s, and it deals. It's part of a series that is going to deal with a number of issues: race, gender, sexuality, things like that. And I'll be honest, if you feel those things are your bag, or you know, I'm fed up of hearing about this, these are probably the books for you, because these are written from the perspective of a white, confused, and disinterested man, middle-class man, somebody who is so away from these things. So it's not down your throat. It is about traversing that world and getting your head around it. So don't let that put you off. It shouldn't put you off in the first place, but don't let it put you off, because it's not like that. It's from that perspective, and hopefully it gives you pause for thought to think about things. But also they are quite enjoyable, I hope, whodunits, with a good mystery, with good characters, with a great setting, a great location. The 60s are a wonderful era to play with. Set in 1965, so we're going into 1966, February 1966 for the next one. Probably summer 1966 around the World Cup for the one after that. We'll have to wait and see if it's an alternative history where England don't win the World Cup, because I'm Scottish. Who knows? So yeah, that's the series. Go and get it now.
Thank you to everyone who has watched and commented tonight. But most of all, thank you to Ben Bruce, admin, friend, great author, legend. The list could go on and on and on.
Bloody hell, don't I?
But I hope you'll come back and talk to us again.
We're doing it next week, yeah?
Yeah. Every Friday for the next.
Yeah, Friday night chat.
Yeah, Friday night chat. Good way of going about things. Put the book back in the background.
Oh yeah, God, yeah. Sorry.
We've got The Regulators, I won't say trilogy, first 3 books, and now Dead Men Don't Pay.
We've also got some great spaceships up above as well.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Ben.
Thanks, Sam, for having me. It's been an absolute blast as usual. Loved it.
Go and buy the books, people. Donna, move it up your TBR, top of the pile.
Yeah, I've read yours, Donna. Come on, finger out.